Welcome to the greatest Tamil science channel. Today we are going to discuss about the food processing industry and the health hazard. In the last 50 years, the processed food industry has grown so big. Today you have 250 million Tetra Pak ready to eat food alone, cooked and semi-cooked, available to us. What impact it has created to the health of the human population, we will be running through for the benefit of all the viewers. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the greatest Tamil science channel. I am your host Vishakha and we are in conversation with Dr.C.K.Nandagopalan. Hello sir.
Warm welcome. Good morning, Vishakha.
I hope the new year is treating you very well.
It's going on good.
Okay. So our topic for today is the processed and packaged foods and the health hazards. We can't escape from packaged foods. We can't escape from processed foods. Right from the time, not when we are children, but today's children, right from the time they're born, they're exposed to packaged foods and processed foods. It's all over us. Let's understand a little more about this topic, how it affects our health, what can we do about it. So thank you, sir, for agreeing to speak on this topic. There are a lot of people who are asking about it. They're aware about the health hazards, but not really very detailed information available out there, not very scientific information available. So, what would you categorize as a processed food?
Yeah, the food processing industry, you can call it as few categories in that food processing industry. Ever since Second World War, after which the humanity, the advanced nations were preparing for a better war. So, in a defense regiment, so as the troops movement, a huge amount of defense personals, the one who fight on the floor, on the war field, so constantly food has to be supplied. So they are ready to cook food to eat. So this is how this industry started widening up as the Second World War came to an end by 1945. By 1970, I understand when I was around 12 years old, so this was too huge. So first it all started with meat processing, the beef and the pork, various animal products. And then it all started with cooked food which has to be packed to be given a shelf life.
Right. Because
by the time it's cooked in one end, it is transported to a far distances and supplied, and it should not go stale. So that's where your preservatives came into picture. So in a food preservative, there are two things, classified 1 and classified 2. Classified 1 is the natural preservative.
Right.
Classified 2 is chemical preservatives. Classified 1 is sugar and salt, nothing else.
Right.
70% above sugar becomes a preservative. Your rasgullas, your jamuns, your lychees dipped in sugar solution.
Right.
Sliced pineapples, canned
syrup,
and floating in sugar solutions. They are restricted because 70% beyond the sugar, everything becomes sweetish. So 30% beyond salt becomes a preservative. Your pickles,
right.
Your salted fish. Because 30% beyond salt is very difficult to eat. So these things you can eat. Even in places like India, they take goat meat, big pieces soaked in salt and dried for 40-45 days in the sun, which is preserved because they don't want the pathogens to grow, the microorganisms to grow. That's very seldom done. So basically pickles and salted seafoods, which can be dried and kept for a longer period of time. When it comes to the chemical preservative, today we have close to 80 plus chemicals are there. You have sodium benzoate, you have potassium sorbate, you have calcium permanganate, it keeps going. Most of the sweet industry, which they make sweets with milk. has a short life of 2 days.
Right.
So they all use sodium benzoate. Then also it will not last for 4-5 days. Fungus will start coming in. So they make only very little. They know their sales. They make a very little and finish it off. Or they make every day little fresh. If it doesn't get sold,
Right.
it's gone. Then the consumerism and commercialism, as we were children, we never used to have any packed food. So the packaging came very important. This is where the brilliant human intelligence worked, who came out with lot of innovations in packaging industry. The double layer, triple layer plastic pouches.
Right.
It is called reverse printed BOPP laminated with metallic polyester. As you tear the packet, you can see the silver lining inside.
Right.
That's called metallic polyester. It's bioxolic oriented polypropylene was printed and posted. They are copolymer bags, sometimes even 3 layers. Then came those 7-layer boxes with which you drink a lot of fresh juice and all that
Juice,
stuff.
milk.
Milk, yeah. You can imagine a milk which can stay for 90 days.
More than 90 days, sir.
Yeah.
After you open it, 90 days.
No, after you open it, you have to finish it up fast,
Right.
as long as you keep it.
Okay.
This 7-layer package stopped the sunlight getting in.
Right.
So that also will have an aluminium coating inside the last inner layer. If you cut open those juice boxes and see, there are a lot of semi-cooked foods are there, which you can cut open them, put it in a microwave, heat it, and eat it. It's already cooked.
Pre-cooked, yeah.
Yeah. So you can divide this into few categories like processed meat, which are rolled and frozen, is also a part of food processing industry.
Right.
So we are not having, most of the advanced nations do not have access to fresh meat. The next one is semi-cooked food, which has to be cooked and eaten again. It's already semi-cooked.
Pre-cooked.
Pre-cooked, yeah. Pre-cooked to a small extent.
Certain extent, yeah.
So I'm using a word called semi-cooked. So then you have fully cooked food, which are packed ready to eat,
Right.
which you can just buy, cut open, eat it. For example, biscuits, all kinds of savories, all kinds of chips, all these things, all kinds of so many other sweet meat items, which are just ready to eat.
Right.
So these are the categories. Today we have 250 million and above those 7-layer box food items are available to the humanity.
My God.
That's huge.
That's huge,
Very
yes.
huge. It is all started taking speed from early 70s onwards. I would rather give the last 50 years. Maybe really after 2000, it has grown very huge in the last 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's processed food and there's packaged food. Processed food could be naturally processed, as you say, with salt, pickles or homemade pickles or fish, etc. That's processed as well. But there's processed and packaged. And what's the difference between both of them?
You're asking about the pickle?
Not specifically, but processing doesn't always have to do with
Processing is your noodles. It's already been made. How do you make a noodle? You take maida, you put egg in it, and then you bake a batter, then it comes in these thin strips, and then it is dried and packed.
Right.
Now what we are doing here is we add everything, we make it, and then we some kind of a cooking take place, and it is coiled and put in a pack, dried and put in a pack, where it has its own shelf life. To increase the shelf life, what we do, we add certain things. One of it is monosodium glutamate, your Ajinomoto and things like that.
Yes, other preservatives as well that are used.
Yeah. So that you have to come in, and it has its own taste. It's not like a normal noodle. Just 2 minutes, you just soak it in water and eat it.
Right.
You can add your vegetables or whatever it is. Today we have even gone up to an extent of dehydrated vegetables.
Yes.
Take the vegetable, run it through a machine, completely eliminate the moisture,
Dry it out, yeah.
bring it out and pack it. And then you soak it, buy it, take it home, soak it. That concept is not picked up in India. Soak it for 5 minutes in the water, it comes back. Drinking that water, it comes back to eatable condition, and then cook it and eat it.
Right.
That is also a food processing industry only.
Yeah, and that's
The most irony was the meat. They were thinking all these years, I don't know whether you would have seen, you must have seen this, it's all there in the YouTube now. Huge machineries, the cattle come, and then they get cut, they get killed, they get cut, they get skinned, they get processed. No human touch is there. That's what they show. No human hand is touching any of it from the start to the finish. Okay, ours, we have a lot of microorganisms which can contaminate. Always you must have seen your elders telling, use a spoon, don't put your hand.
Don't put your hand, yeah.
What? Because the second highest microorganisms in the body is in your dermis, in your skin. So as you touch, these microorganisms spread there. It starts developing and spoiling things. So that's the industry shows that no human touch. And then, they take the different part of the meat for different purposes and then pack them differently and all that stuff, and then go to the cold storage, whatever. They were thinking all these years, it is frozen in so many minus of degrees, so no pathogens grow, no microorganisms grow. It's safe to eat. But now in the last 4-5 years, they found, even in whatever cold conditions you preserve them, the pathogens grow still. So now meat processing industry, which also comes under food processing industry.
Right.
Any food which is processed, it comes under food processing industry, food processing methodology, is absolutely attributing to a lot of health hazard.
So that was my next question on, okay, there are a lot of negatives and we will come to that. But apart from the convenience and of course the long shelf life, is there any positive at all of processing food?
Yeah, suppose you're stuck in a place, you're very hungry, you want some food desperately. You want something, you're feeling low, you're feeling energyless, you're feeling, very hungry.
Access.
You get an access to a packet of biscuit.
You will eat.
You eat them. Yeah. You travel in long trains. So you know that you're not going to get much things in certain routes and all that stuff. So you buy some packed food which are ready to eat for your survival. So, people who are guarding our country in Siachen Glacier, they cannot cook and eat their food. We have fantastic pack where the cooked food can remain hot. That gets served to them by choppers to that altitude of nearly 22,000 feet high from the sea level. So it has its own advantages, no doubt whatsoever. I get access to food in difficult terrains, in difficult conditions, while traveling and whatnot.
Okay.
You travel for 14 hours, 16 hours today. The maximum travel even goes up to 21 hours today, from London to Sydney and all that stuff with the aircraft. So most of the food is pre-cooked already. They just heat and give it to you.
Heat and give it.
Yeah. It's very important. That's where we get helped. That is the advantage that we have, no doubt.
So now let's look at the disadvantages of packaged and processed foods both.
Disadvantages is something which, when it comes to the question of principle of a human-friendly food, which do not harm us, is what we discussed in the art of cooking. So it's always good to, whenever you have access, fresh cooked food eaten within a short span of time when they are hot.
Right.
But there was one documentary which is there in YouTube, which I have seen some time back. So there was a valley which is surrounded by huge tall mountains. It did not have the road access. This is somewhere in Switzerland.
Okay.
So there was a community living inside. So they never had a contact outside till 1930.
With the outside
year
world.
1930. So they were self-sufficient inside. They used to have their own cattle, they used to have their own a small agricultural setup where they grow their own stuff. They have self-sufficient with respect to food for the community. So even though the country, Switzerland knows that such a handicap situation is there for this community, so in 1930, in 1928-29, they started forming a route, road route to reach this place, so that this community also can travel out and others also can go in. And so they made the road track. They finished it in 1930, so they had the contact with the outside world.
Right.
The first thing happened moment the road track was established was processed food came,
Processed food, yeah.
including your toothbrush, toothpaste, which they are unknown to access to all those things. Processed food is mainly the processed food started coming in. The first health hazard within 5 years they faced was the dental decay. In any processed food, the food which is cooked, we don't know when it was cooked. Of course, they put date of manufacturing, the best before and all that stuff. You can make out. The first thing which, the tooth decay. It affects your dental system first to start.
Right.
There itself you can understand that it is not good for your health.
It's not good, yeah.
Very, very simple it is. So if you take aerated waters, your sodas, it's a bottle
Right.
and it's juice mixed with sugar is prepared, packed in, sealed, corked or whatever. Sunlight hits it, right?
Yeah.
Anywhere sunlight hits, the microorganism, the bacterial load will immediately start coming up very fast. Suppose you have a fish tank at home, you constantly put the light and keep 24 hours. The water becomes very dirty within 4-5
Becomes
days
dirty
time.
faster. Yeah.
Very fast,
Very
dirty,
fast,
because
yeah.
of the light. If you don't put on the light, it at least it will stay for a month before becoming dirty. With that you can understand how fast the pathogens are growing.
Right.
So what they do in a soda, in a juice bottles, they are glass bottles or PET jars which sunlight can penetrate. They put a lot of preservatives. That is why these sodas are not good for us. And they put excess sugar. Sugar is a preservative. by itself.
Preservative, yeah.
Other than that, they put a lot of chemical preservatives, which I do not want to name the terminologies and names of those chemicals. Don't want to scare people. Let them know what is there around them. Very simple.
So, what apart, as you said, tooth decay is probably the first symptom that you can see of the effect of preservatives on the body, and I think it's very, very symbolic today. If you see children, the number of children having tooth and eye problems both is much higher than
That is
definitely
because of
when I
the
was a
sugar.
kid. Because of the
Because of the hidden sugar is so high. You have fruit juices in large quantum sold today. They are all preservated one side,
Right.
which are not good for us.
loaded with this.
Second, it's so high amount of sugar. So sugar, when you drink any sugary stuff, when you eat any sugary stuff, as it gets mixed with saliva, which has a lot of amylase, sugar is always acidic and somewhat. By mixing in saliva, it becomes acidic. So acidic condition sets inside. So which is not good for us. It is the cause for all your dental problems.
It starts eating up the enamel of
Dental
the
problems, yeah.
tooth.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about constipation? Is it linked to processed?
Now after
packaged foods?
the decay, after the dental part of it getting affected, not only to sugar, where all the food processing industry because of their pathogens and other things. The second thing is the nutrient. So there are a lot of ready-made food, cooked food,
Right.
which is available in those 7-layer boxes. So if you take the advanced nations, they store them in the fridge. Morning, they take a box, cut it, put it in a microwave resistant vessel, put it inside the microwave, heat it and go. For example, I eat chicken stocks or chicken noodles or whatever. Now these things are processed, cooked. They are all free of human touch. That's what they call. You can see them how they are doing it in the. There are beautiful films are there in the YouTube videos are there. It all comes. Finally, it is heated beyond 180 degrees centigrade before getting filled inside those boxes and sealed. This is to mainly avoid pathogens.
Right.
So, in such amount of heat, it's cooked for 3 minutes. They maintain that 180 to 200 degrees centigrade for 3 minutes, 180 seconds, and then filled in. So, since already it's been cooked and cooled, and the process, whatever they do, and the preservatives they use, it loses all its nutrient. This is where it becomes very important. Then what happens is that food is some taste for your tongue, something to fill up your stomach.
No nutrient value.
The nutrient value cannot remain. How it will remain? I clamp you on a bed for 1 week. Okay? I feed you everything on the bed. And then after 1 week, I release your belt. Can I expect you to behave normal immediately?
No.
It's not possible. So you cook a food and you store it, and then you eat it after a month. What will be there? It's all gone. So you run down on the nutrient value by consuming this food.
Okay.
So that causes problems. Your preservatives really has an impact with your gastroenteritis system.
So a lot of foods advertise themselves to be, very nutritious and the nutrients are not lost. It's packaged under vacuum conditions, etc., etc., etc. If it is cooked, pre-cooked, I think we don't have any reason to believe that the nutritious value is remains intact.
Today the regulation is, the business regulation is on a pack, whatever you are selling, your nutrient value has to be clearly mentioned. How much of fat, saturated fat, unsaturated fat, how much of carbs, how much of sugar, how much of this, that, everything should be put, how much of, all those protein content and all that stuff.
Right.
Fine, you have tested it and you have put all that. There is a mandatory law that you must put the nutrient value on the pack and sell it to the people. People also buy, and by then they start reading, it's got vitamin, it's got vitamin C, it's got protein. Fine, good, excellent. But then,
But that was measured before it was packaged.
No.
Even
we take it into consideration that the food is having all these things. Having all these things. The one part of the science, the modern science, as we consume food and gets into pulp and then goes into intestine, gets absorbed by the lumen of the intestine and then goes to the portal vein, goes to the liver and goes to the blood. There is something called conversion process.
Right.
There are many things get converted to many things, which we will be talking when we talk science. This conversion, we have zero knowledge. We are not able to understand many things. So here you have written all these things in the pack. Is it going to go and reach the same way?
No.
We have no idea whatsoever on that. So you are chemically testing it in the lab, how much of all the components are there. But when it gets into the human chemistry, the life chemistry, in conversion process, what happens? There are two things. One, if certain levels of conversions are not happening, acceptance by the human cells will be rejected. Every food which you consume should be accepted inside by the human system. Do we accept them or not? We have no scientific clue whatsoever.
Okay. So the way the same nutrient is accepted through a fresh food and the way it is accepted through a processed food can be entirely different. And
Totally
we
yes.
assume that, we
Totally
assume that
yes.
it is the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
A fresh cooked food, a raw material is available. A fresh cooked food eaten is always good. The ancients have understood this concept. Today we are in a modern era with huge amount of population. As we took independence, we are only 33 crores. Today we are 130 crore plus. So every kind of food from every part of the world, every kind of packaging is available everywhere.
Right.
People have access to everything nowadays. So that is one of the major reasons for many health hazards.
Okay.
As you stick to these kind of packed food, the more.
Right.
Of course, it is a part of your life, no doubt, but you should know how to restrict yourself.
Right.
Not that you have to remain a saint not to touch them at all. At the same time, you should not go overboard with them.
Right. So one last question. Processed foods were there in ancient times as well. It's not that it's a new concept. It was there thousands of years. There is processing going on. So can you just touch upon how the ancients processed food?
Processed food was there in terms of ancients had processed food. It's on a very limited scale. So you have pickles mainly.
Pickles, yeah.
Where oil and chili powder will not be involved. Chili came into India only 400 plus years before. Previously we were using only pepper.
Pepper.
Our pickles are soaked in salt and dried. That's one of the, that's more so towards a probiotic sections.
Right.
Our processed food is extracting oils, but we use it up very fast. The ghee, the butter from take the separate the fat content of the milk.
Right. That is processing
that you can
as
call
well.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That also it's all been. They know the shelf life. If you see there will be pots hanging from the ceiling. They store the butter in that.
Right.
It has no direct ground contact.
Right.
Yeah. Then they make this bale, pori, right? From rice.
From rice.
That's one of the snacks,
Yeah.
which has no oil involved there.
Right.
That's where it's very important. They do fry certain snacks in oils, like flat rice and all that. They make certain things.
Right.
But it's not stored for too long. These snacks and all fried maybe 1 or 2 days, 3 days, it's all get. They make little only. They don't make bulk and store them.
Right.
There are certain sweets were made, there is some and things like that. There were many honey concoctions were made, soaked in honey.
Soaked in honey.
Yeah, you take amla.
Amla and soaked in
Amla soaked in honey for 48 days. It has a long life,
Right.
but not beyond 3 months. They'll finish it off. It will all become big, So they boil the amla and then the gooseberry and soak it in original honey
Right.
for a period of time. And then like these kind of things which are self-sufficiently required quantum made by the ladies of the house by themselves. It is not made and sold.
Not by a machine for a commercial purpose.
No.
Right.
The components that they use, the vessels, the equipments, whatever they use, is carefully chosen.
Right.
It's all carefully chosen. It is not like that they use a lot of metals and all that stuff. So, there is this kind of small things only. Mainly their food is cooked every day and eaten. Not cooked, kept for weeks together and things like that. Definitely their ural is that pickle. It is only a process by itself without oil and chili powder.
Okay.
No oil come into play there.
No oil come into play.
No.
Very unlike today's pickles, which we assume oil is needed and they are floating in oil.
I can take you and show you some of the pickles made, you know. It is there is one pickle they still make, we still use it. I've been seeing it in the last 55 years. Every year they make it. It's called that kichilikai. It's a citrus fruit. It'll be size of a sweet lime. They keep a big vessel, they cut them, and then they squeeze the juice. They cut 500 fruit like that, they get a lot of juice. They have a big earthen pot which has a small mouth. They put all this juice inside, put some water, some combination is there. They put a lot of rock salt, and then they tie up this mouth with a white cloth, and every day between 10 and 4 they keep it in the sun for 40 days. And this fruit which is cut, it is made into small pieces, and they put a mat and dry it on top of the sun, under the sun. Then this fellow gets fermented and becomes more of an acid. It's all natural water, salt, and that juice of the fruit. So all these dried cut fruit is taken and put inside and put in a dark room. It takes more than 3 months, 4 months. These dried fruit, that thick skin, drink the entire juice and it will become black. That's one of the highest probiotics in the world. Where there is no chili powder here, there is no oil.
There's no preservatives apart from salt.
Here. These kind of things. Mangoes are cut. There are certain varieties of mangoes, not all mangoes, are cut into small pieces. They put a lot of put a big vessel water. They put a lot of rock salt here, and then they soak it into it for 3 days, 72 hours, and then taken up and put a particular mat and palm leaf mat and dried.
Dried it up.
On what you have to dry, which part is also there's a calculation, and then it's all stored. These pickles, what is the lifespan? 5 years, 7 years, after which also it will be good.
Wow. Okay.
It will not get spoiled. It's these are all highest probiotic stuffs that they used to produce.
Okay.
This kind of they had many things like this, like their food processing levels of understanding the human live chemistry and how the food can relate us, acceptance, all things are taken into calculation.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. That session was absolutely enlightening.
You are most welcome.
In the ancient times, we had our food as our medicine. We did not need external medicine. Today, we eat what is only available for taste, specifically for taste, and the processed foods, packaged foods falls directly into this category. So the next time you break open a packet of chips or you want to have an aerated drink, just stop and think twice. What is it going to do for you? Is there any nutritious value? If you're stuck, as sir said, you're stuck in a desert with nothing to eat but a packet of biscuits, please go ahead. If not, there are thousands of options. Choose right for yourself. Thank you so much for being with us.